If you wonder how you can find these campsites like on the left or on the right side all by yourself with ease, then I've got you covered. Within the next 10 minutes, I'll show you the trick and the system how you can find these campsites easily that are kids friendly and that are places where locals will go to skip the crowds. By the end, you'll have a repeatable checklist that you can use to find these local approved campsites that are cheaper, less crowded, and which you can use for all over Western Canada, like Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan. Hello, my name is Diego and I'm from Switzerland. So my research to find these campsites must be ruthless, and meaning with that I gotta pre-vet and test and check each campsite without ever putting a foot on any of these places. So that's why I'm going even deeper, and I'll show you how you can use that. So with that, we start first with the overview of the video today. I'll show you the system, the 3 L's, I'll show you the map tricks, seasonality check is also important, and how I'm gonna apply the system. And if we talk about the 3 L's, first L, or the first lens, these are the 3 lenses, so that's how I call them, is location fit. It's about the drive time, and you know it's clear by. Second lens is it amenities friendly? With that I mean, is it kids friendly, perfect for families? And is it in the nature? And does it have any facilities that is awesome or great for families? Laundry on site. And then the third lens is proof of these campgrounds. With that I mean, when you find these places, you need to check online if they are any good. For that you need to look at the recent views, reviews and pictures, and also check if they have any Facebook pages or anything like that that can help you evaluate if this is any good. Now we'll head on to the map trick I use. So first thing that you can do is, I go over here, right at the top is a tool called Smappen. And with Mappen, I'm gonna redo that. I've pre-done it. You can draw a radius of 2 hours because that's usually the sweet spot that you're gonna miss all these day trip drivers that are far beyond the 1 hour driving border. Let's put it that way. So what you're gonna do is you type in the location that you want to look at, and you make sure that you specify the radius, driving distance radius in hours around, and that should help you give you an idea how much a 2.5 hours drive is away from Kelowna, more or less, to look after campgrounds. And the other way to do that is, of course, if you have your itinerary already pre-prepared, I hope you did that beforehand, then you can check the different stops you've planned. So let's say you want to go from Hope to Kelowna over here, then you're gonna check down here in the itinerary how much time it takes you to drive to Kelowna. So 2.5 hours drive. There's other distances on the travel, as you can see down here, 4.5 hours drive from Revelstock to 100 mile. That would be from here to here, right on top, where you could think of, okay, 4 hours, let's cut it in half, that we are in the sweet spot, traveling with kids for 2.5 hours. And that would be somewhere here. And then you can check for campgrounds in Kamloops in that case. So that's what we've talked about. So the main activities that you can do to go through the system and the tricks I show you. Then the next thing you're gonna do and want to do is to look after search terms like that locals use, finding these places. Those are recreation sites, regional park campgrounds, forest service campsites, and so on and so forth. And you can add terms like a lake access, boat launch, day use trailhead, and so on and so forth. I, on the other hand, and that goes also into the third spot and point on the list, actually I would go to the area of Kelowna. Let's zoom out. Or Kamloops. Let's make Kamloops. It's further up down here. And then you enter simply Campground. And that helps you already defining the campgrounds. You don't need to do much. Most often it already is highlighted as provincial campground. And you also get an idea where they're laying, and if they're anywhere close to water. And then you can change the view into satellite view to get a better idea and understanding of the size of the campground. Maybe to see whether you have enough space in between some bushes or trees to have enough space that you're not too narrow to each other, that you have some privacy in a way. And sometimes it allows you to get a better understanding. In that case, if you have this campground, I wouldn't go to this place. Although it's close to the lake, it might not be as nice. It seems very small. Maybe a place that a local person would go, but you don't have any trees nor any sheds. Most likely not much privacy. I wouldn't go there. In our point of view, that's our taste. So let's move on. When you found your candidates, open each of them in a different tab and go through each of them and compare the reviews, and also look at the pictures of the campgrounds. Maybe sometimes there are even videos around, and also check the prices. And then cross-reference these campsites with pages from the provincial parks or the recreational sites, like the one for this campground, for example, which gives you additional information also when it is possible to reserve the spots, or if you need to pay in cash and can't reserve. So if these tips already help you saving a ton of time and giving you good insights to find places locals would go, then hit the subscribe button to not miss any further videos. It would help me a ton and I would appreciate it a lot, and is a huge help. And that also makes sure that you won't miss the next video, where I give you a real-time example of a campground that follows exactly this system I use here and the tricks I use. So let's go on. Next thing you're gonna do and want to look at is if these campgrounds are any kids friendly. And with that, it's not only about the place itself, also the driving distances. As I mentioned, a sweet spot is around 2 to 3 hours drive in between each place. Sometimes, in our case, I recommend doing 1 or 2 longer drives, but usually after staying 2 or 3 days at one spot, to make sure that you're not constantly driving, and they're not as much fun for kids as the shorter ones. And you can now pack in as many things during the day, so this is the sweet spot. And then you want to look at the campsites if they have a shallow beach access, more important for kids that are a bit smaller and younger. And then if there are any hiking routes or biking trails around, starting in the campground or from the campground, that you have great access to it. And then of course, you don't want to miss out on check-in shoulder seasons if that's possible for you. In our case, wouldn't be possible because we have to go during the main seasons due to school holidays. And then also when you go through the reviews, check if there's any hint for the weekends, how much they're filled. I will come back to that later on as an additional tip I can give you here. And check if there are any fire bans or closures around of roads because of fires. So make sure to be always up to date. And now we're changing into the real time example. I have 2 for you here that followed these steps and tricks. Alright, I'm gonna show you the campgrounds I looked for. One is around Hope, and I entered campground as mentioned before. And what I'm gonna do then is I look for all the places, and you see there are tons of options here. Then I went through all the camp places and I looked for the Coquihalla campground. And the awesome thing is, I'm gonna erase that one. Let's go back. There you go. So here, check the reviews, and also afterwards when you're going through the reviews, check the web page. And what you want to do as well is checking for some pictures of the campground to get an idea how it looks like. And here is a perfect example of a place where you can say, I have enough space. Although there are 2 places here on each side, it is rather spacey and won't be too much crowded. And you got shade from the trees, and there's water close by, very kids friendly as you see here. And it is only 2 hours drive from Vancouver away, and is in an area where it's not so much crowded and not noisy. And we haven't met a lot of tourists there. It was mostly filled by local people. And I found this place through the same approach as I've highlighted before. Then another place I want to highlight is over here in the Kootenay Rockies in the cusp, where I also looked for a campground, and I found this spot here. Camp Valhalla is an awesome place to be, and if you check out the ratings, see here clearly, again I highlight that for you, very high. It's a homepage. They have also an Instagram account where you can get real-time information and pictures as well. That helps you deciding if you want to go there. And it has a great beach access too, and you're fully in nature. There's not much around. It is nice, it is calm, very quiet, a lot of families. I go more into this campground at the later stage. I'll have a separate video you need to check out about the pros and cons of this local spot. Going back to the overview, and that's what I talked about. I have some additional tips for you here, what you can do and must include in prepping for your trip. One thing is you need to check the midweeks, that's Sunday to Wednesday. That's usually the locals' quiet window. Then look for no hookup loops. They have fewer generators, meaning it is less crowded, less noisy, and very often these campsites are the most beautiful campsites with the only drawdown, not much services around. That might be sometimes a good option, just need to be aware of. But if you check the video above, I'll link above, you get some ideas what's different, what are the differences between full hookup, no hookup, and the pricing level of these, which differs of course. Then next thing about recreational municipal campsites is to bring cash with you for the registration boxes. Some of them are not reservable, or you can pay with cards, so you need to make sure you have some cash around. Maybe you encounter some areas on your travel that have no cell services, so download the maps beforehand. And then, sorry for that. And also in regards to wildlife safety, make sure to store your food properly if you're on the way with your camper. In your camper, if possible, leave the garbage in the corresponding garbage bins. Bring some bear spray around you, and also respect closures or areas where you shouldn't go, or if you go off the beaten path, that you clean up everything and bring with you. Just respect the wildlife in general. Even if you see them in the middle of the road, don't get out, just stay in the car and wait until they're passed. And make sure to not stop the traffic as well, if possible. So you've got the system, you've got the tricks, the map tricks I use that help me saving a ton of time. And with that, make sure to check the next video, which is a demonstration of this system and tricks in action. And I'll show you in the video the pros and cons. It's one of the campgrounds I've already mentioned in this video. It's a quiet and family-friendly campsite, and also a great opportunity for kids to get in touch with other children. And if it helped you, saving a ton of time and gave you some great ideas how you can find these secret spots by yourself without wasting a lot of time and having overnight hours to find these places, then I hope you subscribe to the channel. It would help me tons, as I've mentioned before, and I hope to see you in the next one. Cheers!